You know, the Nintendo Switch 2 has been out for over 2 months at this point, and I think we're at a point where everyone is interested of seeing what games you can play on this system. As games are slowly rolling out for the system, I found something on the Nintendo eShop that I felt has really been kept under wraps, and more people should be talking about this game, as this game is an exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 and made specifically for the Switch 2 in mind by developers that we all know. And in today's video, we're going to talk about that game because this game gets very emotional, and I definitely think it is a game worth buying for a lot of people out there that have a Nintendo Switch 2. And best of all, it's an $8 game. Let's jump into it. Now, obviously, the game that I am talking about is Dear Me, I Was. This is a Switch 2 exclusive that honestly came out of nowhere. We had heard rumors that Arc Master System was working on a Switch 2 exclusive game, and there was indications that it was going to be something like Another Code or Hotel Dusk. And well, we got the trailer of this game towards the end of June, and I think it definitely was something that people were a little disappointed by on what it was, which was a brand new IP. And I think a lot of people thought for sure it was going to be a sequel to the Another Code series, since that came out of nowhere with a comeback. But Arc Master System came out with something different, and honestly, I feel like when I played this game, it was a very special game because of the type of style that it was. Now, the game that I'm going to be comparing this to a lot is going to be a game called Behind the Frame. And if you haven't played what Behind the Frame is, it is a very good game. Now, it's definitely a game that I can't recommend for everyone because these type of games are definitely not for everyone. But as I played through Behind the Frame, I always wanted to play more games like this because of what it was. A visual novel, but taking it to the next level with its art. And that's exactly what Dear Me, I Was. And it was a phenomenal game from start to finish. And in fact, it definitely got very real at times with this game because it will throw you into a storyline that you're not expecting it to go, and definitely with how far it went. And there's one particular scene, without any spoilers going on in it, that I was like, whoa, this is hitting me. This is very real, because this was something that I could compare myself to in terms of what was happening with that game. And seeing this game play out the way that it was definitely very special, and I'm glad to see that I had played Behind the Frame before playing something like this, because I kept making comparisons of that game to this game, which in my opinion was a next level version of Behind the Frame, just shorter than Behind the Frame. As I talked about it before, Dear Me, I Was has a very unique art style to it when it comes to its gameplay. It's a stop motion art with really no voice acting, none of that. It is just straightforward, point and click, all that good stuff. Now, I will say the only thing that I think Behind the Frame did better was offer more gameplay options to people playing it than what Dear Me, I Was, because literally it was a point and click. With Behind the Frame, there was actual puzzles behind the game, and I think that would have been a nice inclusion to this Dear Me, I Was game. But I keep remembering to myself that, hey, I paid $8 for this game. I also took an opportunity to look more into the art style, and according to the stuff that I was reading on it, they actually filmed everything that we saw and then turn it into art with the stop motion. I don't know what type of technology they used here, but I thought it was really cool to know that they filmed this with actors and then turned around and turned it into art, into this stop motion. That's what was said when I was doing some research on this game, and I thought that was something very unique to what was already a very interesting art style to this game. Something that I love that this game does is that there is so many foreshadowing scenes that lead up to what happens in the future. I love when movies and television do this, and I would love to see games end up doing this more, which I think we're starting to see a movement where games are doing this, but it was really nice to see this game implement that and really utilize and make the story feel so much better about this game. Something else that I want to point out that I kind of am overhyping at this point, but I love that this was a feature, is that it took advantage of the Switch 2 mouse controls. As we talked about, there's not really much gameplay to this game. You're essentially clicking, you're holding a pen, drawing, that type of stuff. It's basically taking your hand and helping you throughout the game. From a gameplay perspective, it was probably one of the worst ones that I've played in this type of style of gameplay with these art games that do the stop motion and all that. But what I thought was really cool about it is with using the mouse controls, as I feel that that's something that we are not seeing enough games utilize. And the mouse controls are here and they work very well. I just wish there should have been an option to where you could edit the sensitivity through in-game without having to go to the Switch 2 sensitivity settings on the actual system. That is the one downside of it, but at the same time, who is going to use mouse controls? A lot of people are probably going to utilize the touch screen because you can use touch controls with that, which me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of touch controls, but it was nice to see. I guess they should have done a little bit more with the mouse controls, but at the same time, there's no gameplay to it, so I don't think anybody probably cares and is probably going to use mouse controls like I do. As I mentioned before, there was a scene that very much hit me. Now, I didn't get like upset about it or any type of tears, but I was like, dang, I feel it in the heart right now. This is so real. And I'm sure as you play through this game, there's probably going to be moments that it will hit you as well. I liked the dynamic that this game had to offer with different scenes that you just really was not expecting. And by the end of the game, you get such a satisfying ending to this story. My only complaint, I would say, is it's unfortunately a pretty short game. Unfortunately, you're probably going to beat this game in about an hour, and you might be able to do it faster than that. And I think that's the one thing that these type of games kind of suffer at, and that's they have to be super short. But I feel like you can take something like this and go further than a short game. Like Behind the Frame, for example, suffers the same thing. That game was done probably in about 2 to 3 hours. This right here was done in 1. Why not try to make something like this where you can make at least a 5-hour game? I feel like it's definitely possible, and I think this is a genre that has so much potential into it that could be taken to the next level. I definitely like to make the comparisons of Behind the Frame. I feel like if they would have included some of these puzzle gameplays, that could have added extra hours to this to where you're not going through the story so fast. I really liked what this game had to offer, and I know that I'm asking for a lot considering that the game was $8, but I definitely think they should have taken a page out of Behind the Frame. I think if you combine the elements of Dear Me, I Was, along with Behind the Frame, take those two together, you could make a really fantastic game out of those two fusions right there. I love what this game had to offer. It just needed more content because this is something that can be done super fast. I'm definitely curious to see what Arc is going to be doing when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, as it seems they have an interest for bringing this type of stuff to the Switch 2. I mean, another code collection coming out. I feel like there's more to that being released than what we're thinking, especially considering the fact that they got an exclusive Nintendo Switch 2 game here, which was Dear Me, I Was. I definitely feel like Arc has some crazy things in the works for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what that can entail, as we saw something special out of this, especially with games like Another Code, and I know a lot of people ended up liking Hotel Dusk. I don't know if it's possible we're seeing more where this happens. Maybe Arc is working on something very big for the Switch 2. I just found it very interesting to see the sudden interest coming from them with games like that, and I think we're going to see more of this, especially considering that this came out within the first couple months of the Nintendo Switch 2. There's been a lot of rumors that there's another game that Arc is working on that will be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 that I think a lot of people are hoping is going to be either Hotel Dusk something or something related to Another Code. Or I don't know if they're going to continue this IP of Dear Me I Was, or this type of style of what this game is, especially with how they made it with the live action cameras, filming it with actors, and then taking it and put it into art. I loved what they did with that. Like, I'm telling y'all, that is kind of crazy if that is truly what they did here. Especially, like I said, if you get towards the end of the game, you're kind of just thrown off and you're like, wow, that was kind of crazy. Like I said, this game is a very satisfying game. I definitely don't think it is something that everyone would enjoy. I would say, honestly, if you were looking forward to playing something like this, I don't think this type of style, at least with this game, I don't think this should be your first game into this type of genre. I'm going to be saying that try Behind the Frame. I would go to that first, finish it, and I think you would be able to enjoy something like this way more after playing something like Behind the Frame. You're just gonna be probably like me, where you'll make comparisons of, oh man, it would have been really nice to have this feature into that, and then yeah, that's kind of the type of stuff you're going to be saying if you play that first. But I still think playing Behind the Frame first, then going to this, there will be way more enjoyment for you. In terms of what I would rate this game, I think there's definitely some cons there. As I said, the game is very short and needed just a little bit more gameplay variety than just being a point and click. As we talked about before, you're going to be drawing things in the game sometimes, and then when you're pointing and clicking, you're essentially eating. And I will say, without spoiling, if you pay attention to what's happening in those food scenes, you'll notice something that, once again, is why I would be praising this game. I love when games implement stuff like this, so I will say this: pay attention to what you are eating if you are playing this game. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. This is a very special game, and I realize that for $8, I still got a lot of value here, and I definitely think this is worth your money, especially if you like something like Behind the Frame. But I also realized that stuff like this is not for everyone. But I think the best part about this game is that if it's not for you and you still paid for it, at least you only put $8 into it compared to, at least $20, $30 games, because something like this is typically priced around that. So I'm hoping that that development team gets the opportunity to do more for the Nintendo Switch 2, and especially with this type of style, because I think there is so much potential here. Now guys, I have been talking for way too much. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Did you pick up this game, and how do you feel about it? It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, I think, that will happen for a lot of people, and it's nice to have these type of games on the Switch 2 this early, especially something so deeply emotional. I think it's kind of interesting to already have on the platform, as stuff like this typically takes a few years. But guys, make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out the Twitter, Discord, Instagram, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. I just realized I forgot to say the Monado Marine membership, but that's okay. You know what? Instead of putting the money towards the Monado Marine membership, guys, put it towards this game. I think you will very much enjoy it. Just go with it, open-minded is all I will say.